So Black Box came to be about 15 years ago. I was in a really, really dark place. And
Hello and welcome to the Brothers and Sisters Like These podcasts. I'm your host, Brother Emiliano. Today our guest is Black Box Dance Theater founder and member, Alfredo Hurtado. Alfredo, welcome to the show.
thank you, Brother Emiliano. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, it's our pleasure. Please let our viewers know a little bit about an oversight about Black Box Dance Theater, kind of its mission, its vision, and then how you personally came involved with it.
So Black Box Dance Theater is a modern dance company out of Raleigh. And we like to call ourselves a nonfiction dance company because we dance about things that are important to people. And we believe everyone has a story. So Black Box really promotes, just hearing people and just listening, right? But we are a modern dance company, so we also do performances, high production performances in magnificent theaters, and we also perform in schools throughout North Carolina, K through 12, and it's interesting where this place has taken me. But we're a nonprofit, and Black Box came to be about 15 years ago. I was in a really, really dark place. And after I had spent some time in the hospital, once I got out, my wife had given me a leather-bound book, and she was like, "You need to write everything in there, and that's yours. That's no one's gonna read it. Excuse me, no one's gonna touch it. No one's gonna. Let's just write whatever you need to." And it's a beautiful book. I still have it. And so I did. I started writing some things down, and I've been a musician since I was young, so I kind of saw. I was like, "Oh, all right, I could probably put some music to it." And this is around 2010, 2011, and we had just gotten a Mac computer and I had GarageBand, and I was like just laying down tracks of all this stuff that I had written. So I think it was maybe like 9 songs that I was able to record. And so at the time, my wife was an elementary school teacher in Raleigh, and she was teaching one of Michelle Pearson. So Michelle Pearson is the artistic director and founder of Black Box Dance Theater. And so she knew, my wife knew what Michelle did, and last desperate attempt to find something for me, she was like, "I have a CD. This is my husband recorded it. I know what you do. Please take a listen." And he needs something. He's this is it. Like, but she was also like, he might divorce me too because I'm giving this to you. So she's like, "Oh, I'm taking a huge chance." And so Michelle listened to it, and she called me up and she was like, "Hey, would you be interested in accompanying me while I dance? You could play your guitars, acoustic, electric." And I was like, "Yeah, no problem." So at this point, I was about 260 pounds, and I was just not healthy at all. I was on all sorts of medications. So this is kind of like recovering at this point, trying to heal. And so we meet up. I'm like, "Yeah, for sure." In my mindset, I'm a musician, rock star. I just play music. I'm not worried about dancing or nothing. I'm just there to play music in my mind. That's it. That's all I'm doing. So we do about 5 workshops that day with like totally different group of people, like a senior home, and then a halfway house for juveniles, for teens, and I think they were mostly high school teens. And then we did like a children's wing at the hospital over there in ECU in Greenville, and did something at the school at ECU, and then the last thing we did was a workshop at the Greenville Arts Council, and we worked with middle school inner city kids. And while I'm playing music and Michelle is doing her thing, she stopped for a second. And she's like, "Hey, can we talk for a second?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." She's like, "I know you don't dance, and I know you don't want to dance, and that's cool. And you don't really have to dance, but can you support somebody? Can you just partner up with this person and just like support them, and nothing complicated?" And I was like, I was like, oh my God. Number one, I had to touch somebody, and then now I have to get out of my space, right? But the way she said it, man, just amazing. Like, you know, just support him. That's basically what she wanted me to do. And I was like, okay. She's like, he's such a strong mover. And so I go over there and we start pairing up and we're doing different things. And then I'm like, why don't we do this? And like ideas are just coming up and we start doing stuff. And I'm like, all right, this is really cool, right? And so that was the end of that workshop, and we're driving home, and I was like, what just happened? Like something happened, some kind of spark or some kind of something that just felt right in my brain, in my heart, my soul, just felt right. And I was like, I need to do this more. So we created this partnership where I would go play music and she would be dancing and doing these workshops, but I would start moving as well. And just within the workshops. And then finally we come across a few spectacular dancers in Raleigh, and we had this meeting in the studio at Arts Together, and we're like, all right, let's start a dance company, and came up with Black Box Dance Theater. And I just pretty much played music on the side of the stage while they were performing live in schools and things like that. And we did that for a little bit, and finally I was like, okay, you all are having way too much fun on that stage, and I need to be part of that. I feel like I just need to be part of that. And I mean, that just, Michelle was like, yes, like, let's do it. And so I just started taking technique classes, and then we created Move to Action, which is how brothers and sisters like these and Black Box met and started our relationship, right? Our partnership. And so we created this piece, and the way it was created, we just used different methods of, choreography or dance methods to create text and the movements for what we did. And this is the first time I ever choreographed dance or anything. I have no dance background, none whatsoever. So I do have a dance background, untrained, but my parents are from Colombia. So salsa, merengue, cumbia, I danced that stuff, right? And never really did modern with, all these different amazing techniques and move. And so, but I mean, look who I'm being trained by, or look who trained me, right? Michelle, Natalie, Steven, Ronnie, Catherine, all these amazing people, and Mindy. I had so many amazing teachers. So I was bitten by the bug the first time I did a workshop with Michelle Pearson that this is my life. This is what keeps me alive, to be able to be creative, but also to be able to be physical. And I mean, it just keeps me healthy. It keeps me aware of where I'm at and what I need to do for myself to take care of myself. I'm an aging dancer, so I really need to take care of my body. And so that helps me be disciplined in that aspect as well. Because I mean, in the Army, getting out of the Army, after the Army, I just destroyed my body. Right? I was like, oh, well, my body's done. There's no use for it anymore. I'm done with the Army. I'm not going to be physical. And that's wrong. we need to stay physical. We need to just, and you don't have to run a marathon, but stretch out a little bit or walk a little bit, just as long as you keep moving. And then now, if you need more, there's different ways of doing it. With the arts, especially with the arts, all of it. I believe for me, it was all the different types of art, right? Music is what I started with. And because I wrote, I was able to see myself on paper, see my emotions, everything that I was going through, to try to understand that. And then, the dance part is just an amazing thing, because not only is it so personal, but it creates an amazing community. I mean, it's dance is really intimidating to people. And of course, because you're being vulnerable, you're putting yourself out there. People don't want to look silly, but we're humans. We're allowed to be silly, and we can't lose that. We can't lose that innocence that we still have it. Yeah, we've been through some heavy stuff, and we survived. So now what? We're here. We have another chance and an opportunity to do things differently, to go against the grain, right? To go, I'll tell you, the people that inspired me to go into this direction were the Vietnam vets. You said it. Those guys are, people wanted to wear like football jerseys for their favorite team. I wanted to wear freaking army shirt. I wanted to, I love that stuff. That for me as a kid, one of my first projects in the 5th grade was writing about a Chinook picture that I got on a National Geographic card, and I had to write a little thing on it. And it was, about Vietnam, and I was like, God, these guys are amazing. They're like giants, right? And so, first time I went to the VA for a group, my doctor's like, you got to sit in with these guys, and I go in, and all these crusty old Vietnam vets in a circle, and like my age, right? Not that I am now, right? And I'm just sitting there, and one guy looks at me. I mean, they're hard guys, and they're just like, son, he's like, you're 30 years way ahead of us. You're doing something right. And at that point, like, I got chills. At that point, I was like, oh wow, like I was just passed down, what I needed to hear. And so, the dance has been, I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful that I can do it and have the ability to do it. But I'm grateful that I have access to the arts and that I had people that were able to influence me and show that I was much more than just a broken veteran. I'm a human being. I am a broken veteran, but I'm also, a dad, and I'm also a teacher, and, I was a soccer player and a student. I'm all these things. So I don't need to be stuck on that I'm a broken veteran thing, all these amazing things. So why can't I get stuck on all these great things? And how do you do that? You can do it by yourself, but I think getting with a group of people is the best way to do it. A group of people that want to improve how they treat people, how they treat themselves, how they talk to themselves, which is the most important thing, right? When you look in the mirror, how are you going to talk to yourself? And we are amazing, amazing creatures. Very fascinating what we can do, especially our resilience and how we can overcome so many things. And it's like, easy, right? But it's not. It's work. It requires work. But it's possible. It really is. But yeah, so I went going off on a tangent, but that's how I got to where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Well, we have I believe, a pretty similar background. We're both veterans, both from New York City, both first generation Americans, and both served overseas. And I served with an airborne infantry unit, and you were a military police. Tell us about, if you feel comfortable, about your military experience post 9/11.
Oh yeah. So cool. So my wife and I were dating, and at the time I was living in Chelsea, the city, Manhattan, and we were working out, and I was like, hey, I need to be more responsible. I feel like I needed the best place to start was the military, and this was in 2000. This was right year before 9/11. But I mean, we were in New York City. We had no idea what was going to happen. But I enlist October 12th, 2000, and the USS Cole was bombed that day. So I'm getting sworn in at the Brooklyn MEPS for Hamilton, and I'm walking out to get on the bus to go to the airport, and in the common area, they had the big TV, and the USS Cole bombed in Yemen. I'm like, okay, this is interesting.
What I just got myself into.
Yeah, that's my words exactly. What did I just get into? Anyway, so we go outside, and I'm about to and I see this beautiful big bus. I'm about to get on the bus, and the guy's like, "Oh no, guys, no. The Army's down there. This is the Air Force's bus." I was like, "Oh man, it's getting worse. It's just getting worse by the second. And then we end up in these 1970s high school like sports vans that they used to stuff all the athletes in, and they put us in these things. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. But yeah, at that moment, I was like, man, something's gonna happen. Like, I came in at an interesting time, and so the guy was like, "You want to go airborne?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." He's like, you get like a bonus," and I was like, "Dude, I would have did it for free. I don't care. Like, I wanted airborne just to jump out of planes, right?" But yeah, but little did I know that was taking me right to Bragg. So I go to Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri, and then Benning Airborne School, and I go right to Bragg. So May 10th, 2001, I'm in Bragg, and then we all know what happens a few months later, right? And so at the time when that happened, 9/11 I was at Cat McCall, and we're on Nasty Nick,
The
and
obstacle course.
geez, yeah, it was fun. We're having a good time, but getting the calls, hey, World Trade Center got hit. We all thought, oh, idiot flying a plane, whatever. When they said the second plane, I was like, oh, this is it. This is it. And plus, my family lives in New York, right? So I'm like, I can't even talk to them. No cell phone service, none of that stuff. So, I mean, I knew from day one when I joined that it was going to be like 1,000 miles per hour from that moment. And so I was at the Pentagon a few days after 9/11, and we were there for 7 months. Stayed at Fort Myer, did the Pentagon, the Naval Annex, some other spots around there, and then December 2002 went out to Afghanistan. We were in Kandahar. They said 6 months, and then it was like 7 months, 8 months, 9 months. Finally got out of there after 9 months, and then I took a month break. I played for the All Army soccer team.
Oh, wow.
We played Millington, Tennessee against the Marines, the Air Force, and the Navy. And that year, the Navy took it. But after that, so I was able to play soccer as well, because when I was in Afghanistan, I put together some international matches. So we played against the Jordanians, we played against the guys from Mozambique, and then the Norwegian special ops. I mean, those guys destroyed us. They were amazing, amazing soccer players. But yeah, right on Kandahar, they had some soccer nets, and it was great. We had a great time doing that. Everything else sucked. But yes, I was able to stay in some kind of condition to play, and I played that. And then was it March 2004? We fly into Kuwait, do 2 weeks, about a week or 2 weeks in there, getting our weapon zeroed, everything just set up, and then we convoy April 1st into Iraq. We're supposed to be going to, was it Victory, right? And then ended up in FOB Kalsu, like a little.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, exactly. And we get there, ground our stuff, no connexes, nothing. I mean, everything had been getting IED'd like crazy, so they weren't bringing anything up. And that first night we're there, we settled down. We're getting, it's about 2 a.m. or so, and then I just remember hearing like a faint thud, like a doop, and I was like, "Ooh, that's an interesting sound." Kaboosh! And we just got mortared that first night. The first 5 days, it was just going into the bunker, just our chow hall getting blown up. Like, it was just a normal thing. But I only spent 2 weeks in Iraq. April 16th, out on patrol, I got hit by daisy chained IED, 155 howitzers. I mean, it was a Wild West every day, so we didn't know what the hell we were gonna get. And that day, I got hit. My guys got hit. We survived. My guys got hit pretty bad, but we all made it out of there. And it's like, it doesn't end at that point, right? We get into this friggin' Black Hawk. We go to Baghdad, and while we're going to friggin' Baghdad, you see muzzle flash coming in from the friggin' ground, right? So I'm like, what the hell is that? And the freaking the guy in the helicopter was like, "That's we're getting shot at, dude." And I'm like, "Great! I have no weapon, no nothing. Here I am planning already." I'm like, "All right, we get shot at. I hope this helicopter blows up because I don't want to get captured, right? And if we do survive. I'm grabbing the first piece I see, and I'm just gonna shoot everything I see, and then save one for myself, and that's it." All this stuff is going through my head, and then we get to Baghdad, and I'm at the hospital, and I'm like, I'm gonna go smoke. So I go outside to smoke, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm in Baghdad. I'm like in the freaking city. I'm like there is no fence or wall or nothing protecting me, and I just got freaking blown up a few hours ago. So I go back into the hospital because I can't be out there, and then we fly to Balad. Same thing, muzzle flash. I'm like, Jesus Christ, just kill me already. I'm like, if I just kill me. And then finally we get on the 141 to launch stool. And it wasn't until that back hatch opened up where I could breathe, where I just kind of like, God, like every second was just death right there, just knocking on my door. And, but it doesn't end there, right?
Kind of just begins, right?
Yeah, that's where it
The real
starts.
journey starts.
Yeah, because you're like, okay, I'm back in the world, but I'm not me. I'm not. Thumbs up, thumbs up. And at that point, 2004, there wasn't really any like information of how we're going to treat these IED guys or these the amputees and like just yeah, there's always been carnage in wars and stuff, but you know, surviving a blast in a Humvee, that's that could do some damage that hasn't been seen before, right? I mean, it's all carnage, it's all nasty crap. It doesn't matter what era. It's just some weapons are fancier than the old ones, right? And they do a lot more damage. But after I came back, I was like, all right, I need to. I had a doctor in the army down at Bragg, and he was helping me out a little bit, but I was like, I need to fix myself no matter what. I'll be a guinea pig. I said because this sucks. It sucks being on these pills, passing out on my lawn because I'm drooling and stuff like that. My family taking the hits. I mean, yeah, it happened to me, but now as a result, now these people that really didn't sign up for it are being affected. Even though my wife did sign up for it, but still, I mean, she's a human being. She can only take on so much. And so I was like, I need to be. I don't need to be that person, that burden on my family, where my wife and my daughter don't talk to me anymore. Um, I need to make that better because I love them. I gotta be good for them, and I need to be healthy. But it wasn't overnight. I mean, I got a couple hospital stays, but it was always that willingness to try something so that I can like fix myself, so I can heal. Um, but yeah, that's my journey in a nutshell, beginning to beginning to end of
Well,
beginning to.
our journey never truly ends. We're in it. Won't speak for you, but I'll speak for myself and say that I have my ups and downs. I have my own personal struggles. And so I'm just a lot more resilient now because of work like creative writing or dancing or art or even more traditional methods to help us deal with kind of what we've been through. But it's interesting because you and I have a lot of similarities. I was in Europe at the time when I joined, so I went through Germany through recruiting. And literally the day I came back, my bags were still in my hand. I walk in the door, everyone's looking at the TV.
Mm.
It's night. And I put my bags down and I say, "What's going on?" And, I used to live not close, but I could see the towers. And I knew, wow, my life's going to be really affected by this. And my next actual duty station was Fallujah. I went,
Mm.
did the whole, 1 unit training for banding for infantry, straight to airborne school, straight to Bragg. Did some extra training there at Bragg for a couple months, and went straight to Fallujah. My guys had come back from, not just, but had come back from Afghanistan, one of the first conventional units there in Afghanistan. And then I didn't even have time to chill with them before they left. I had to go catch up with them in Fallujah. And I tell everybody, out of 5 years of active duty, I spent more time overseas and in training than I did at home. And World War II was only 4 years. And when I was home, I was training to go back there, or I was watching it on TV, or I was training the privates that were replacing, the other sergeants. So it was a very, very difficult mindset to explain to people. But what's interesting is as you were speaking, I could have stepped in at any moment and taken over the conversation, because even the word choices like burden, there were two or three words where you paused and thought of what would be the best word, and you literally picked the same. I mean, I literally picked the same word you had, because it's a human experience, right? What we've been through. So it
Yes.
doesn't really matter the details. There are still some very basic human experiences that transcend a lot of other kind of peripheral things about our situations. That's why there's so much correlation between different combat eras, different demographics, because when you're there fighting, really, in the end, you're only really fighting for each other. You're not fighting for the politics back home, and you don't care. The military is where all the integration, social and cultural integration happened, because nobody has time to play these games when it's military. It's just the mission.
Right.
So you make these friendships that you never would have been exposed to, on the battlefield, and it makes you extremely resilient and open to a lot more experiences, and opens up your mind to other avenues and things that you never would have considered had you not been exposed to, a structured regimen, but also a diverse cultural regimen. So incredible similarities. And you also said what I tell everybody, the really important thing, a lot of nonprofits that we're close to here in Western North Carolina, and people like you guys in Raleigh, say, in the end, it doesn't really matter what so much you do as that you do it. So whatever it is, it has to be something productive with serious people, and then the process will happen kind of on its own. And what we love is we love doing writing, mixing with the arts, song, painting. There's just all these other flavors that just enhance the experiences. You and I never would have met or never would have engaged in any kind of nonprofit relationship had it not been for our willingness to go outside of just our comfort zone. Okay, well, I'm writing. This is good, but man, think if we put this to dance, or I'm dancing, but think if I put some words and someone could see that. So awesome, awesome resiliency on our part. And I want to say this as a segue to, I want your thoughts on this, because I've for the writing, I've thought a lot about this. I believe that, song and dance are just fundamental social skills that humans have had as a form of bonding and healing from prehistoric times. And so it was a way of creating like camaraderie, celebrating important events, and also mourning special occasions. And I always seen as painting as the original storytelling before you could actually write. It was like the prehistoric form of writing. And so they wrote about the images that today, sorry, they painted the images that today we write about. And today, more than words, brothers and sisters, uses emotions. And also, Black Box, in my opinion, what I see not only dance, but I see emotion in the movement. I see a story in that. And so, what are your thoughts on this? It's something really ingrained in our species of needing to be social animals with a tribe, which is why we bond so well, like in the armed forces, and why we look for that bond and that tribe when we get out. And part of our healing is to go back to some type of group that does that. Do you feel that same way about these fundamental kind of things about dance and writing and painting?
Yes. Like, I think especially that community. That's what helps. Being with people who have that same goal. I think that's why the Army was amazing for me, because we all started from nothing and we made it through basic training, and we were like cheering each other on, like, let's go, even though it wasn't like good job. No, it was like, let's go, let's go. We knew what that meant. We knew that someone saw something great in us. And so when you get to these groups, with brothers and sisters and Black Box, it's like we meet people where they're at. So we have questions, and the only thing we need for you to do is just to be here, just to be present in the moment. That's basically it. I mean, we have muscles, we have bones, we have the ability to jump, to get on the ground, to get up, to pick things up, to push things. And so what dance does is just reminds you of that humanness, that you need to support somebody, you need to use a certain amount of strength, you need to use certain amount of muscles in your body. You have to remember choreography so that you don't run into somebody, and so that everything flows, right? So there's so much that offers, that primitive thing, that natural thing of just our bodies are meant to be moved, right? And also we can move them and test the limits of how much we can do. And it's also like a psychological game, because we're really easy to say, well, I can't do that. That's too difficult. I mean, dance teaches you repetition. You got to do it over and over and over and over and over again, and then you just keep doing it. Also, I've noticed, because I dance, I don't spend much time in the gym anymore. I might do it once or twice a week, maybe, but I do a lot of dancing. I do a lot of yoga. I do a lot of that stuff. And so I find that when I have an injury or something like that, I'm still able to dance. Like if you hurt your shoulder, if you hurt your knee or something, while you're lifting weights, you can't do squats anymore. You can't do like overhead press, right? But with dance, you can always adapt and change your movement, because it's really your body, and your body is so unique. It's not, and when you see someone doing a certain thing with their body. But anyway, the recovery part of it too, because your body just becomes just strong and healthy because you keep moving and you're working the muscles. And because you're physical at that point, you're like, okay, I need to take care of this thing, because it's an amazing tool. It's an amazing machine. It's helping me stay stable on my feet. It's helping me be confident, my brain confident, so that my brain knows that it's protected, but also my brain is being used to let my body know that this is the direction I need to go, so I don't kick somebody in the head, or but for me it's difficult still, I mean, to this day, for choreography and stuff, because it takes me so much to get to that point. And I asked the other dancers, and I'm like, all right, honestly, and I don't watch them, and I do, and a lot of them just catch it right away, but they feel like, maybe that's not the case, but I'm like, there's no way, that's not what I'm witnessing. So for me, it still takes a little time, but then I hear people saying, no, you got it. And so then I say, all right, then I got it, right? But I think it all has to combine, right? I think with the arts, it's important that, because movement is a certain text, and painting is a certain text, a certain way of sharing the story, and writing is the best way to describe your emotions, right? It's so that people can.
Well, sometimes I consider it physical too. And what I personally like about the writing versus talking is that two things. One, we slow down our emotions and our thoughts only as fast as we can write. And two, so we don't ruminate over the same 1 second thing, one incident, the moment I lost my friend or the moment I got shot. But we look at the whole event, so we get context and we drag it into its full reality, which is kind of like when you guys do a performance, there's a start, a middle, and end. So the writing part for us is also a physical thing that allows us to slow down and then fine tune what we're actually trying to convey, because which is like practice,
Yeah.
the equivalent of your practice. Because the first time I wasn't really trying to say this, but when you speak, it never comes out right the first time. That can never be like, if I wanted to do our podcast right, we'd have to do 3 or 4 takes to be perfect. And that's not what we're trying to do here. But when it's therapeutic, that's why you practice. Say, no, let's not do that. Let's try this. And writing is, I can say that a little bit differently. And so that to us is the physical part of it. So we do see some physicality in it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now, also, we are very blessed to have a couple of associates from Black Box Dance Theater here in Asheville. We have Kendall and Deidre. And
Yes.
so, what they do with our members is that, regardless of the age, they meet once a week to do movement to heal, and that's doing yoga. It does a few things for us, which I'm sure are exactly what you guys do as a mission. It builds our camaraderie amongst ourselves, kind of gets us out of the house. That's always a good thing. And, it allows people to move at their level. So there's always Deidre and Kendall always giving alternate movements that you can do, but it keeps them so much more agile and functional. And also, like you said, thinking mentally too, which you might not think if you haven't danced. But we also do the collaboration for learning bits and pieces of when we do produce something together. That's the time also for them to practice. And so we've really enjoyed that experiences, and it's made us so much more resilient, opened us up, I think, both ways, to Deidre also and Kendall also, to kind of what we do in terms of the writing. And so we're very, very blessed to have them here. And it's really helped us evolve with you guys because we get to do so much through them here locally. And then when we're with you guys, imagine if we hadn't practiced with Deidre and Kendall. Yeah, it'd be rough.
Yeah,
So there's so
but
much,
I do
that you
believe
guys do.
something would happen, though. I do believe, even if,
Yeah.
but let me tell you something. Kendall and Deidre are amazing. Like we were there this past January, and I'm sitting next to Deidre, and we're doing this improv exercise, and I'm like, are they doing lunges? I'm like, that's intentional. That was intentional. Like they're doing lunges, they're doing stuff on the
Right.
floor, we're getting up. Like I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. And I look at Deirdre, I'm like
You're rocking
amazing. Just but the group is. I mean, we're constantly talking about you guys. Obviously, we're like, okay, this is what is happening. This is what we need to do. And we set things up because we have our military stuff that we do. We have this new science thing that we're going to be doing coming up this summer. And so, but with we always have everyone up there, and like we're always planning, like this is what we're gonna do, and then Deidre and Michelle are communicating and they're talking about this is what we're gonna need to do, and then what we're going up. Excuse me, end of March, I think.
hmm
So and we're already talking about, okay, what are we showing? What are we gonna what are we gonna be doing? Because once we get there, because we get your stories, and this is the story we're gonna be working on, and then boom, we start creating movement on it, and then that's now we get together, and it's like bam, we're ready to go.
rock and roll.
So, and Patriot's coming up, so I don't know if you heard, but we're gonna be doing Patriot again. So you know what that means? It means you're gonna be
Well, tell the listeners
dancing.
a little bit about that because that's the OG that I know of.
Yeah,
So tell us about Patriot because I think that's an important segue to where we are today, right? So
yeah,
tell the viewers about
and
that.
you'll have to be in it, right? You have to definitely be
Can't
in
hear you. Can't hear you. But keep
it.
going.
Yeah, man. Patriot. So we did move to action. That was the first thing we ever did. So we kind of like the direction that kind of was like the direction we're going. Right, we're gonna bring high quality performing art, but we're also we're gonna be bringing that art. We're gonna be working with the military. So I guess the idea of something like not an evening length show, but just working with veterans. And then we did the Creative Forces where we met y'all down in Wilmington. Uh, I think from that point there was this idea. Michelle had this idea, and okay, let's create an evening length work with veterans and their stories. And so we start taking different ideas from different things. Like we went to Boston and we did the Freedom Trail, and we had a tour guide, and they were wearing like colonial like outfit and everything, and we were just like taking notes. Like, well, it's so important about Boston and the USA, right? We know Boston Tea Party. We know things that took place, Boston Massacre and things like that, but there were like details that were just amazing and great to learn about, right? Um, and so we took those ideas, like for instance, Crispus Attucks, the first person killed for the Revolutionary War, and he was black, right? I mean, how many people knew that? Right? We're like, holy crap! So that's one of the pieces in Patriot. So we wanted to take the story, the veteran story. It started with the veteran story, but then we had the widow, we had the Gold Star mother, and all these stories started coming up. And I mean, Asheville's like, the where Patriot pretty much, took shape. It's where it started. We were in the Diana Wortham. We were rehearsing, and it was COVID, and we opened up at Morganton. Sorry, the Comma in Morganton, and then we went to the Diana Wortham after that.
In Nashville.
And it was like blown away because COVID, and there were like 100 people in there, and then we did it in 5 different cities. But you have this evening length performance with these amazing, beautiful dancers, and then you have these guys that were never welcomed home, that never talked about their service, and they're on stage, and you could see them, and they're all older, but then they start reading the story, and you see an 18-year-old kid scared, going through this experience, right? And then after this story's read, it's like, boom, there's this amazing thing that happens with the dancers that take this story and make it alive. And so we did this thing, we did Patriot again for the documentary. So they wanted to film a documentary on Patriot, and we were like, Asheville, we're going to Asheville again. But it was like, we love brothers and sisters like these, but they drank the Kool-Aid already. So there's no element of surprise. Like, this is going to be great. I mean, those guys came in and they were like, they knew what to do already. So,
so we can facilitate, but you need a new source.
Yeah, we want that to show.
You're doing a proof of concept with somebody else.
Yeah, how the work, it really works, right?
From zero, from the ground up.
Yeah, like people that are like, heck no, I don't want to do
that. Right. Resistant, don't. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
And we weren't going to get that with brothers and sisters like these. They were in it. They're in it.
Pirouetting and doing all that for you. So,
loved it.
Yeah. And so that's how you got the nexus with Buncombe County Veterans Treatment Court.
Yes. Kevin Rumley. I mean, Steve Henderson. We all know Steve Henderson. Stephen Henderson is
our president.
Yeah, he's the guy. He's top. And he was like, y'all need to meet. Y'all need to meet Kevin Rumley, which was like the greatest thing ever. He's brilliant. I mean, Kevin is just
Purple Heart as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's been through hell and back a few times. Just a brilliant mind, perspective on the world, and his way of explaining what he sees. It's just brilliant. But he's like, y'all got 10 minutes to go into this courthouse and pitch. And we did. We went in. Michelle made her pitch, and a bunch of them showed up. And I mean, after that documentary, it's been 3 years, and y'all are still getting together every Wednesday at Deirdre's, and which is one of the things that makes me happy, because I used to go into these places and work with people, especially like military stuff on Lejeune and Bragg. And when we left, I was like, how do they maintain this? Like, how do they keep going with this? Because they need it. Like, everyone needs it. It's just human. It's for us. It's for everybody. There's no, you can't do. No, it's for everybody. And it's like, you've just been exposed to what you're capable of doing, and you should continue that, right? You should totally continue that if it helps, if it works. But it's so hard to have access because the arts is just extracurricular. It's just a hobby. It's no one sees it.
You need to be in a place financially, emotionally to even go be accessible to that.
Right.
So it is a friction point. Just like sitting down to write, if you have other stuff to do or you're consumed because you're such a dark place, you don't even have time for that.
Right.
Well, and so in this documentary, which is We Lift Each Other, it highlights about 5 days of you guys coming from Raleigh with some very well-known filmmakers to come to Raleigh, come to a group that has not bought in, who has not been exposed, which is these veterans going through Buncombe County Treatment Court, which is one of the original ones. I think this technically the second one, but the one that I believe is the only one minus another county that handles some of the non-sexual and non-violent felonies. And through a very long 2-year process, addresses individually and systematically the root causes of why they got in trouble legally. So, and what needs to get done to avoid that? Things like driver's license, substance abuse, counseling, reconnecting with your family, having positive relationships around you, productive people around you, because that's part of a nucleus that keeps you in check. It's kind of like your tribe, So, and so, but they're still veterans and they're still, doing their thing. And some of them are I'm not going to speak for this group, but in general, some of us can be self isolate, have a chip on our shoulder. We're not easy to deal with because we've been exposed through a lot and we've been hurt. And so being vulnerable can be a very scary thing. But you guys came in and said, "Hey, let's dance and create." I mean, it's just stuff that you wouldn't be like, "No, lady, you're crazy."
You're crazy. What are you
Right,
doing?
right. But you had people like Brother Steve, our president, who we already have a continuing relationship with Veterans Treatment Court. Oftentimes we read at their graduations, and we speak of our own resiliency. And so these shot callers were like, "Hey, you know, trust me. This might not make any sense to you, but trust me." Right. And that's what's important about creating relationships through. Think if you guys didn't have like brothers and sisters to help guide you, like
Oh,
Steve
forget
did
it.
to Buncombe Treatment Court, or to have these guys say, "Hey, just chill, just sit down and just listen." I wouldn't put you in a situation that you couldn't handle or that wouldn't be fruitful for you. So just chill. So we have the trifecta, right? We have everything lined up, and then you guys come in and start showing that I can support you, as I remember Michelle in the documentary saying, it doesn't just mean like this. I could support you, like this, right? They're different way. I'm like, oh yeah, of course, because I'm not thinking like that. And so explain the trust and what happened over those 5 days and lead up to bringing it to Wortham and doing that opening screening there at Wortham in Nashville.
Oof. So, you touched on it, Steve, all the other um, all the other veterans up there, Kevin, just kind of like, hey, these guys, them speaking so that they can at least stay or at least show up to just kind of see what's happening. Because like if you look at the Vietnam vets and they're doing it, you're like, okay, I want to do that. I want to. They're onto something, right? They're definitely onto something, and so I mean, Steve is just like it's the greatest person to have.
He's also not only our president and founder, but also our ambassador.
Yeah,
He has a lot of connections, a lot of knowledge, and is just the right person to do these things.
He's just amazing, and so with that, there's an ease of we're similar. We share this thing that not a lot of people share. We used to do these workshops on base, and we didn't want to say anything about me being a veteran first. We kind of wanted them to like do it on their own and stuff. But then eventually we talked about me being a veteran, and then I would tell people, I'm like, look, we all sign a dotted line knowing we can die. You can't do a freaking plie. Come on, let's go. Right? Like, and it's like, it's perspective, how you see things. Like you said, you start seeing things differently. You can be, oh my God, I didn't know that could be that. And that's the beauty of how Michelle does that. She like lets you see little things that in the details that you just overlook or never even thought of, right? But the permission you have to do that. We all have permission to that. As human beings, no question is too small. That's what she always says. No question is whatever. Nothing is too small to notice. No, actually, nothing is too small to notice. So you start noticing everything. But So these guys come in. I mean, even Curtis was like, "I'm out. See you later. Peace." He
Yeah.
walked out the door.
Yeah.
Uh,
Literally.
yeah,
Yeah.
they went after him. They were like, "Look, just give it a shot."
Just for some background, so Curtis is one of these very typical vets that isolates and feels frankly more comfortable in the woods than in society. And so you put him in this and it's just overwhelming. And the amount of trust he has to come back is just really testament to Steve, you, Michelle, Rumbly, the whole Kevin, the whole kit and caboodle. So that takes some courage
Yeah.
to come back to it. And so yeah, so you had some ups and downs and
Yeah,
but continued.
we had
Tell me
that, but
about that.
I got to give a shout out to Judge Pope. I mean, for allowing us in his courtroom, for trusting us with his people, right? The people he's overlooking.
That he cares deeply about, by the way. I mean, he's this is
He's amazing.
it's a yeah.
But I think starting from there, him like, okay, you're allowed to miss a session because you're doing this, right? But you have to be here, and this is the things that you need to do. So that, but then they could have easily came in, like Curtis could have walked in and been like, all right, I'm out, but then do his program, right? He would have just went right to his program. He would have did nothing of this. But I'm so glad he stayed. I really am. I mean, just amazing to know what he's been through. And then, you see it on the film, you want to get lifted. And he's like, are these people nuts? They want to lift me in the air, but you saw him. He was like, wow, I belong here. I mean, even the dance, right? He was like isolated. He was alone. And then finally they reach out. He reached out and they pulled him in. It was like his story. And now he's doing what he wants to do. He just wants to be part of society. He wants to be doing his thing and he's doing it, which is great. And we all have ups and downs in life, as long as we don't give up, we, just figure things out. Knowing we have permission to do unconventional things that we didn't know we could do to heal or to get healthier or whatever it is that you need to do so that you're not in pain or mentally, physically. But just pleased with the way they responded and participated and shared their story. We don't go into a space and say, this dance is going to work, but it's only going to work because you need to tell me your story. We go in and, like I told you in the beginning, we go in and we'll do prompts. And I start off. I am a dad. I'm a husband, a son. I'm a Gemini. I'm a dog poop picker upper. I'm all these things. Okay, cool. Right. Now, because of these things, what do you carry? Things that are tangible, things that aren't. I carry my phone because I need to have. Because I'm a dad, I carry my phone because I need to have constant connection with my daughter in case she needs me. All right, what does that look like? Oh, cool. All right, so you're taking your phone out of your pocket. Hey, can I add a little something to it? Yeah, sure. And I do this thing, and they're like, "That's what we're going to use, right?" And so this is part of how we create something. It's like it's you. Your story is so important, but there's so much of you too, other than just that. And so we try to highlight that, and then we're like, oh, that's great. That's you're moving it, you're acting it out, you're doing something, right? You're releasing it. That's what dance does. It releases it. It's your body talking. Your body has a language that it speaks, and it speaks through the movements and the muscles and stuff. So,
In addition to storytelling, what I find, and I'm sure you find as well, is that our writing or your dancing or combining the two is not just an expression of something historical that's happened that we want to talk about, but it's also therapeutic to the people that are doing it and raising awareness to the people that are witnessing it. So the dancing out something that can be traumatic is also a way of dealing with it and processing it, just the way writing is. And I don't think one is ever better than the other. But I do think that when you combine them, it's like a full force multiplier. And I'll say what, when we opened up the documentary there at the screening at the Wortham, it started with one of our Vietnam nurses doing Operation Baby Lift during the Vietnam War, and there's something just so moving about her reading her piece, which is something that she did for brothers and sisters like these, and having one of your dancers show us the emotions about it, and it put into physical. See, it's something that we're not used to, and I don't think the average person is. It put into physical manifestation and emotion. Well, we're used to it more usually being spoken or written. But it's amazing to see, like, wow, she's really representing what the emotions were happening. And so that is a way, to release it. And I'll give you another example that hit close to home because it was of a GWAT female veteran who did Tent City.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the reality is for military sexual trauma in the Army, which is an epidemic and does need to be addressed and happens to both men and women. But, it's not something that I ever had to worry about in my career. Now, imagine one of our writers having to describe trying not to be a victim of MST while overseas. And then imagine you guys as dancer, if she's talking about protecting herself and other female veterans in a tent, you guys making a tent around her physically. I mean, it just brings the emotions and the colors, and it just brings it to a whole nother emotional level. And to this production, I bought a bunch of other friends that were, a couple were military, a lot were females, and they were all so emotional and they related. And what did that do to, veterans like yourself that were dancing, and also to us writers? It's, to me, that this non-traditional, quote unquote, is more productive than just medication or just individual therapy. I think it's all extremely important.
Right. Yeah. No.
But it all has its place. But I'll tell you, for Vietnam and for GWAT, which was really a counterinsurgency type operation in both of them, hearts and minds, a little different, but yeah, still that was the objective. There's a lot of survivor's guilt. There's a lot of moral injury, civilians getting caught up in it. Just a lot of flavors that was not in a traditional force on force conflict. So what that does is that, I've never been scared of, like, oh, an IED, I'm going to die. Like, I came home and, like, everybody had some adjustment disorder of, like, going under an overpass and driving past a tire and some garbage on the side of the road. But, that I got through pretty fast. But it was the, why did this person die a month before we had to go home? And this person just had a baby before he left. That's the stuff that kind of broke my heart. And that's not something that a pill will ever help you with.
Right.
And sometimes even talking about it with a therapist or even a group only takes it so far. You need something like physical, like dancing or writing, tangible, to really, that's how you really, really get it out. And the same group of people and the same actions, therapeutic actions. And then next thing you know, it's been 2 years later, and you're like, when I started this, I couldn't even talk about a couple of subjects. Wife's never heard about it. No one in groups has heard about it. And then one time during, a Zoom call that we do to do buddy checks every other week, so we always stay connected in between classes and in between programs, events. I said, hey, this has been on my mind, and I'm finally at a place that I can talk about this. I've never talked to anybody, and everybody's just so supportive. And next thing I know, I write about it in the class. Next thing I know, I'm talking about it in public. And it's the journey is amazing, and it happens faster than you realize, but it can happen at whatever speed is your speed, whatever you need. But it's just something that these kind of things take the wind out of the sail, and then you just don't realize it till you look back, like watching a kid grow every day. And you're like, oh my God, you've grown so much, and I just didn't realize it. And so imagine what you know, imagine what you and I would have, how difficult it would have been to process so many of our life challenges had it not been for this. So, I think what motivates both of us, and I'm going to say this on your behalf only because we've already known each other for a while, is that not only did we receive through these types of non-traditional nonprofits to help ourselves, but now we're at a point and we recognize the potential for healing others, that it's empowering for us to help others for the next generation of warfighters that are coming down the pipeline. Because, brother, it's you and me. These Vietnam guys are aging out,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they paved the way for us. Michelle paved the way for you, and now we're going to have to step up, to the plate. But how lucky are we that this stuff not only saved us, but also empowers us, motivates us for the future. Tell me how you feel that has changed your trajectory from just being healed, quote unquote, to now empowered you to be a healer for others.
By accident. It happened by accident, but so I don't know if I shared this with you before, but I'm going to say it. And I read this somewhere. It was like a cartoon or something. I can't remember where I read it, but so there's a soldier, like a troop. He's in a hole, and he's like,
Oh yeah.
"If you're gonna help, I'm trying to get out. I'm trying to get out." His sergeant comes by. He's like, "Well, suck it up and climb out of there." And sucks it up, and he tries, and he just can't get out. So the psychiatrist walks by, and he's like, "Hey, doctor, help me! I need to get out of here." And he's like, "Oh, here, take some of these, and these will help you get out." And the guy's like, takes the pills, and he's like, "No, I'm still stuck in here, right?" And then so somebody's walking by. He's like, "Help, help!" This guy's a veteran. He looks down. The guy's like, "Hey, can you help me get out of here?" He's like, "Yeah, hold on a second." Boom! He jumps in the hole, and the guy's like, "Now we're both stuck in here." And he's like, "No, don't worry about it. I've been here before. I know how to get out."
And now we're in it together.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I remember hearing that, and that is of all. And trust me, you and I, have a lot of anecdotal stories that we could describe, but I've used that one too. My version has the officer or the NCO that comes in and throws a shovel in there to say, "Well, dig your way out. I'll give you the tool." Well, like the officer says, just get out. Then the NCO says, here's the tool to get out, right? Because we're the ones that make shit happen. And yeah, everybody has their way that they think can address it. And it takes someone who's been there to understand, dude, you just jumped in the hole with me. Now we're both stuck. It's like, well, then we're both stuck together. We'll figure it out together.
yeah,
And that's the spirit.
yeah.
And that encompasses.
Michelle does say that in the film too. She's like, "We don't have the answers, but maybe we do this just so we can understand a little better, right? A little, and we really don't. But this is what works for me. This is what is helping me heal, which I believe is forever, right? A life thing. Healing is
Like a
just
change of lifestyle, just your vision, your calling.
yeah.
It's a whole
Healing
encompassing.
is a journey, right? It's your journey because I need to dance forever. That's my journey. Is I'm going to be dancing forever. I'm going to be moving, and I'm going to be doing this forever because I know this is what keeps me alive. This is what helps me. And I don't say, "Hey, this is what you need to do." This is what I say. Look, this is what I did. You do whatever you need to do, whatever you think is right. But this works for me. You can try it. You don't have to try it. But I mean, I wanted to kill myself.
But it's here, right?
Yeah.
Right, but it's here. Yeah. Yeah, brother, I feel you because I tell people, look, writing is just one. I'm not, but we have here in Asheville, we have with agrotherapy with Veteran Healing Farm. Heart of Horse Sense. We have with equine therapy, and I don't have being a city boy. I don't have a lot of experiences with horses, but I said, hey, as a stakeholder for nonprofits, I need to do some of these programs to see, right? And I'm like, holy cow, this stuff works because it's not just like, hey, go in and hang out with the horse and oh my god. I mean, you get a book, you get some explanations, some mental processes, and then you go do that work with the horse. You see, it's not just like, yay, I'm riding a horse. And they don't even actually, they're not even riding. So I guess some do, but Heart of Horse Sense doesn't. But I'm like, yo, this is intense. Like this is good stuff. And I just, if I hadn't tried it, I wouldn't have known. So, we say just come on in, sit down in a corner if you're not ready to participate. Give this a shot. If this doesn't work, I got 2, 3 other friends that might find something for you. Because ultimately, what makes, I think, you and me and the rest of us that are veteran centric nonprofits is that we're here for the veteran. And if our solution works for you, awesome. Or maybe our solution and somebody else's works even better. And then sometimes we come across where we see two different but similar modes of wellness like ours. And then you're like, dude, we have got to get together
Yeah.
because this is nuts. Just the vibe in the room is enough to heal. I mean, it's just crazy. And it creates these bonds that, I wouldn't be calling you brother if this had never happened. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so that to me is really rewarding. I think that's what keeps us motivating. I imagine it's kind of the same thing for you as you've spoken about how dance is something that you want to be part of your life. The same way is that I want to use writing to keep the legacy of previous warfighters and explain to people what the cost of war, the cost of serving. So it's a legacy, I think, for both of us.
Right. And the way y'all opened up the group, not just to veterans, right, to the family members, which are the overlooked and forgotten ones. They're
Yeah.
children. We went to ECU to show the film. We worked with the
Yep.
ECU dance department. After we showed the film twice, the first time to the students. Afterwards, I mean, I'm like, wow, there's a generation of children with veteran parents that served in combat that would benefit from this.
It's all encompassing. It transcends because
Totally.
it's a family nucleus, and that's why you do like that kind of stuff at ECU and other places, and which I know is special because Michelle went to ECU,
Mm-hmm.
but and that's the recent thing you guys just did. But
Yeah.
that's the same thing that we do is that there is a place. Brother Tom passed away from Agent Orange, and we became friends with his wife, Sister Midge, who is honorary sister. So you tell me, brother, what would we do if he passes away from Agent Orange? Or we just say, well, it was nice knowing you, Midge. I mean, she's still us. And
Yeah.
to be honest, actually, I'm having lunch with her and Sister Ann, who's a Gold Star mother, whose son Matthew died when I was in Iraq. We weren't in the same unit, but he died while I was there. So think of all, I mean, like, why isn't a Gold Star mother at the head of every event?
Right.
Every event we're at, hey, are there Gold Stars? Especially mothers, family members. So it is all encompassing, and that transcends whether it's writing or art. Because you're right, we have people that have been left behind by society that are alone because of the cost of the service to them, their spouse, their children, or to the children that are dealing with the parents like you and me growing up, which can be extremely difficult, even if we have no issues. Just think of the toll it took on them while we were gone.
Yeah.
Anxiety and attachment disorders and best case scenario.
Yeah. Trying to understand why their hero is acting this way. Like, why are my parents, why are they like this? So that's why I talk to my daughter all the time. I'm like, hey, girl, I didn't do it. I know I didn't do it perfect, but at any moment, just let me know. I'll help you go to therapy if you need it. She's like that. She's like, I understand what you went through. And I said, I know, but still, I need to take accountability for the things that I did, but also I'm doing something about it. I'm not just repeating and causing damage and saying, why am I doing this and not doing something about it?
You have stopping the cycle.
Yeah, you have to stop the cycle, and especially there are expectations of how a veteran should act and how a veteran should be, and they should be tough and solid and store everything and not say anything and be this stone when that's not real. We're human beings. That was just part of us, but we're human beings.
what I feel is that we have to show each other grace to others and grace to ourselves. It sounds like your daughter was showing grace to you, and that's just probably a testament that you probably done a better job than you even give yourself. So let's give yourself some grace. Let's give ourselves some grace, and let's give grace to the others that we don't know where they are in their journey and why they're doing what they're doing. And if we all showed grace, we'd all be solving a lot more problems than we'd be creating, wouldn't we? I know you know that.
Yeah, for sure.
I know you know that. So that's where you're going with that. Well, Brother Alfredo, I wanted to do a fire drill, but we've been racking and rolling. We're gonna have to go to another later edition.
Yeah.
But we will be meeting together soon at Raleigh for a governor's workshop that is meant to expose some of the providers in North Carolina with these non-traditional, veteran-centric nonprofits like us that can do so much for so little money and just not get the people that aren't walking through the traditional door in the front of the VA saying, I need help, which is typically not who goes and asks for help, right? So we have to reach them in non-traditional ways. And so we do that with ways like this that don't scream, hey, fix me. And by doing it by getting out into the community. So tons of events. Well, I have here something that I talked to you about.
No way. No way. Crazy. No way. That's awesome, dude.
And so
I know you're
it's that New York City skateboarder.
the Brooklyn Banks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 It was locomotion too. I had to get from A to Z before the zip line skates thing became popular. But yeah, so kind of to represent the arts, but also the writing and kind of the new age, right? This is going to be moving forward, and it's going to be our way to also bridge, a younger crowd. But these are, to say limited editions is an understatement. However, I'll be presenting one to you and Michelle at that event in Raleigh as a testament to our partnership and to our continued relationship in the future. So how does that sound? You excited about that?
Hell yeah, that's awesome, brother. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I got it. I don't have any trucks. That's the term for people, for non-skaters. But it's like the axle, and the wheels. I don't have it. I just have it on the board. But if you want to put trucks and go do ollies, whatever, it's probably used would be awesome. But I'm going to tell you something. That's not it, though. Okay, that's the brothers and sisters. I made a special edition and I'm not going to show it.
Okay, no, cool.
Until there, it's going to be a surprise.
Awesome.
It's a special black box and brothers and sisters like these.
Beautiful.
Unique for you guys.
Awesome. I can't wait to see it, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
All right, so listen, here's my call to action. My call to action is find out more about Black Box Dance Theater to the listeners. Go on their website, Black Box Dance Theater. Go on their Facebook, share their story, follow them. If you can't use them, first of all, they do a lot of stuff, obviously not with just veterans. If you can't use them, refer them. Find somebody that can help support them, donate, do whatever you can, okay? Because if you help them, then they help others. So help them help others. It's the same thing we ask for, brothers and sisters like these. So that's my call to action. And as always, our time has come to an end. And to Brother Alfredo, to you, the last word.
Thank you, Brother Emiliano, for having me on the show. I do suggest that we have part 2 after you have performed in Patriot. I'm just saying, but we can talk about that experience. But this has been amazing. I love you guys. I love you all out there. Asheville's my second home, and I don't see you guys as like, oh, there's another partner, but we're like this. We're like intertwined in everything now. So I'm grateful for that. So thank you for everything, brother. Thank you for having me on. I'm looking forward to seeing you, and I can't wait to see the boards.
That's right.
I'm really excited. So.
All right, brother. All right. See you soon to all our listeners. Thank you. Get in touch with Black Box Dance Theater. Do what you can and help us help them. Till the next one. Take care, everybody.